Okay, so guys, what's going on, everybody? So today we're going to be doing something a little different. I know you guys are used to me casting. That's what we normally do here. But I thought we'd do something special. We finally got a hold of TheMista. For those that don't know, he is the one who qualified during this last weekend. Actually, you guys saw all those casts and whatnot. It was an amazing weekend. I lost my voice, but it was worth it, as usual. And him, along with Recon, qualified. Now they get to go to the castle. I believe it's in Spain, right, Mista?
Yes.
This castle in Spain. That's right. You guys will play for all the monies. um,
It's mo- it's
Brad,
mostly about the glory.
I mean, of course it is at this point for sure, but the money's nice, right?
That's an extra.
A little extra cherry on top. I was gonna ask, 'cause I actually don't know this off the top of my head for sure. Did you drop a single game during the qualifier?
No, no, no. I didn't lose a single game
Not
in
a
Redbull.
single game. That's honestly incredible. It really is. Um, just so everybody gets a little grasp on who you are and whatnot. Can you tell everyone how long you've been playing the game and maybe some of your accomplishments?
I actually, obviously, I played the Age of Mythology single player when I was like really, really young. But I started playing Age of Mythology online on 26th of July 2007. That was my first game online. And it was Odin against Kronos on Alfheim. I remember it as if I played it like a while ago.
Do you
And I got hooked. I got instantly hooked with the game.
do you remember who you played as or anything like that?
I don't remember the name of the guy, but I remember that I won, and I was super excited because that was my first online game.
Well, do you know what the gods were or anything like that?
Yeah, it was Odin. I was Odin
Okay.
against Kronos on Alfheim.
I'm nice. Okay. That map seems to get played a lot. It seems to be a pretty big favorite map, I think, right now in Retold.
It's it's a very simple map. It's a very noob friendly map, I would say. It has lots of choke points. You can easily wall and play safe, and it's easy to defend in that map.
Oh, absolutely. So besides, I guess, age, like, what is your background in gaming? I guess at that time, like, what were you playing anything before that? How did you get into the game originally?
I started playing Age of Empires 2 at the age of 9. And by 10 I was actually pretty good. I was beating almost everyone in my hometown. And then I started playing on Zone with my father. And I was really high elo, I would say, for back then. But then when the zone closed, I remember that I just couldn't play online anymore, and I didn't know how. So I just stopped playing Age
uh
of Empires 2. And many years later, I just randomly saw a guy playing Age of Mythology in an internet cafe because I didn't have internet at home back then. So I would only play in internet cafes,
mm-hmm.
and then I would just basically practice against the AI on my home. So yeah, I saw this guy playing Age of Mythology, so I just sat next to him and I just watched the game. It was Odin against Ra. The map was Savannah, and the that guy won with a rag at the end, and I was
uh
very very impressed of how he was losing so bad, and he just clicked the button. All of his villagers became heroes, and he won the game. And it was very impressive for me. So I'm like, and then basically the next day I just uh, got the game and I started playing online.
Gotcha. So between age, I guess age two, you said when you stopped playing in Age of Mythology, you didn't play anything in there. There was no games, no nothing.
There was some games like games with friends, basically Dota back then, the original Dota from Warcraft 3.
Mm-hmm.
Playing some Warcraft 3, I was playing some Total War games. Just just really casual, very casual.
Okay. I guess between I guess when you started playing Age of Mythology and now, how has your gaming evolved and whatnot between, I guess the best place to start would be between then and then the end of, I guess, standard mythology before Retold came out. Like, what's your adventure between then and now?
So basically, I started playing Age of Mythology in 2007. In probably less than a year, I was pretty high in the ladder. In a year later, I think, like maybe slightly more than a year later, I got the expert tag. I was recognized by the community as an expert of the game. And then around 2009, I was still playing the game more casually though. I would still like be really high in the ladder,
Mm-hmm.
most of the times rank one as well. But as soon as I saw StarCraft 2 coming out, it was like 2010, I think. I decided to try StarCraft 2.
Okay.
I got time on it like 3 days, and like I won the first LAN tournament that happened in my country, and then a couple of years later, I was considered a professional gamer in StarCraft 2. Not for a while though, not for a bit, for a long time, because at the same time I was farming,
And who did you
and
play
I
as in
real.
StarCraft 2 and why?
Sorry,
Who did you play as in StarCraft 2?
I was playing Protoss,
Okay.
and I was the highest placements I got was top 10 Grandmaster in Europe and top 10 Grandmaster in North America. I won some weeklies, like against some really good names. I had some good performances in big online tournaments, and I've won almost all the LAN tournaments in Greece and the online tournaments in Greece.
How big
Almost
were those
all of them.
tournaments?
Around 1,000 euros back then, which was
How
a
many
lot of
people were
money.
usually showing up for those?
Like the first LAN that I played, it was like 48 people, I think.
Wow.
LAN event.
And
Yeah,
what was
yeah,
that
that's
in? Like,
was
was that like a what kind of place was that?
sorry.
What
It
kind
was
of place? What kind of place was that in the LAN event?
in an internet cafe.
Got. Oh, okay.
It was
Okay.
basically it was like basically the whole internet cafe was booked for the tournament,
Wow.
and that was basically my first LAN, which I won.
Nice.
And I had no idea about that there was a community. It's just like I played against a guy on the ladder who was also big, and we started chatting a bit after the game, and he told me that he's Greek, and then I told him I'm Greek, and then he told me you should check this site, Starcraft2.gr. There's like a huge Greek community.
Awesome.
And I was like, I'll take it. I'll take a shot. And then I went into the forums. I started talking with people, and they would told me that there's like an actual community with tournaments, etc. And that's basically how I entered like the esports.
So that was like your
That
first
was it.
taste of it.
Yes, yes, yes.
Oh,
Before that, I didn't really know anything about esports.
so again, so this for the timeline here, you played Mythology a little bit, but then you went into StarCraft.
And in 2013, when Heroes of the Swarm came out, I didn't really enjoy StarCraft 2 anymore. It became a stale game.
Mm.
It just felt so lame, so toxic, and I didn't really like it.
What
So
about
I'm
the
like,
update made you feel that way?
it's the new units. The new units in Head of the Swarm, like Swarm Host. Like I hated Broodlords. I don't know if you remember the Broodlords, right?
Oh
They
yeah,
were throwing
Broodlords, of
those smoke.
course.
All right, I hated that unit. It just as soon as Broodlords came out, I just knew that it's
The
gonna be
flying
one big
siege
fight.
unit.
Yeah, I knew it was gonna be one big fight, and I really hated that. I like to play all the map. I like to play all around, and just I like to make a lot of decision
Mm-hmm.
making. And as soon as those units come out, it used to be like one fight. So just dance around with your army left and right, left and right, left and right, until that one fight happens. And it was a very, I just didn't enjoy it anymore. And then had the Swarm Host and the Ravagers and other units came out and just made the game very. I just didn't like it anymore. So I decided to just retire from StarCraft 2 and
Wow.
start playing Age of Mythology, mostly for fun. But I had a huge success when I came back in Age of Mythology.
What? I guess after the whole thing with the update on StarCraft 2, you came back to Age of Mythology, and you said that was in 2013.
Yes,
So how long
uh,
after that did you become TheMista, basically, that we know today? How long did it take?
like 3 weeks.
What?
uh, I'm not joking. Like I came back and people could not believe that I was so good after not playing the game for like 3 years, and they were accusing me that I was cheating, which was kind of annoying, but at the same time it was very flattering, right?
What kind of cheat did they say
So
you had?
they thought I had, they thought I was map hacking, and they also thought that I was using scripts in order to cast god powers in
Wow.
response to things. Because I had really, and I still have really good reactions. So, now people cast Ancestor and Eclipse, right?
Mm-hmm.
They cast Ancestors, and then they cast Eclipse, and then the minions move a lot faster and they attack faster, right? Back then, if you casted Eclipse, what happened is like you casted Ancestors, then you casted Eclipse, and you could block God powers in a global scale. So if you cast Ancestors and instantly cast Eclipse, the opponent cannot cast Ceasefire, he cannot cast Flaming Weapons, he cannot cast anything. He has to wait it out. Right now, we can just cast Ceasefire, even if there's Eclipse. Back then, you couldn't. And what I would do is, I would lure my opponent into casting Ancestor and Eclipse in positions in the map that I felt comfortable, just waiting for the Ceasefire. So, like, I knew that he was going to cast it. Now, I would do something to force him to cast Ancestor and Eclipse, and I would just literally wait to cast Ceasefire as soon as I heard the sound of one Ancestor coming out from the ground.
Okay.
So I would cast Ancestor, and so I would cast Ceasefire in between his Ancestor cast and his Eclipse cast, and I would block both.
That's actually insane if you were doing that, because how long does it, I mean, it takes what, less than a second or for someone to
Yes,
use both powers?
actually, if you go to my Twitch TV, there is a clip from back then where while I was microing, I instantly dragged my mouse up and I casted Ceasefire while the other guy was casting Ancestor and Eclipse.
That's actually kind of crazy. Because, again, I mean, it's just one click, one click. I mean, it's not like the person had to do anything. It's like click, click, right? I mean, how much of a
Yes.
gap is there really in between those two powers? Like
Yeah,
nothing.
yeah.
Unless they're purposely
It's
delaying it, I guess, but I don't know why you would do that.
Yeah, especially when the other guy knows that you can cast Ceasefire, right? So most people they would just like click instantly, but I would still get them off guard because I could tell when they would cast Ancestors because I would force them to cast Ancestors most of the times, right? So I was ready for it.
So you said 3 weeks going in, so that would have been barely any time at all. At that time, I guess, who was like the biggest competition on the game?
Uh, I would say there was a guy called Armipro who used to be the best player back then, and he was basically the guy who accused me that I was, and he started this whole thing because he didn't think that I could improve so fast
Mm-hmm.
after not playing for many years. And yeah, that's when I started playing a lot with Magic as well.
Oh, okay.
Those days is when I actually started playing with Magic a lot because in 2008 and 9, Magic wasn't really playing as much.
So I guess more of a conceited question, but I have to ask this: is one, did you think you were one of the best, if not the best player in the game? And then when did the rest of everyone else start to feel that way as well?
Mm, I don't know. That year, for example, like I think 2013 and 2014, I think I won most of the tournaments. If not all, I
Wow.
think I won most.
Okay, how long from the time you started playing it after StarCraft 2? How long was it till you won your first tournament?
I think it was like maybe 2 months, maybe 1.5 months,
That's actually kind of incredible. That's
if I
insane.
remember correctly.
And I guess besides, okay, because there were other RTSs at the time. Besides, StarCraft 2 having that update, and then you coming to Age of Mythology, what was the deciding factor for you to be like, okay, Age of Mythology 2 is, Age of Mythology is going to be it. What made you decide to play Age of Mythology over the other games at the time?
Just pure nostalgia.
Just pure
It's literally,
nostalgia?
yeah. I'm like, what am I? What will I? It's winter. Like it was winter, so I'm like, what am I going to do this winter? Like I want to play something.
Mm-hmm.
So I just like installed Age of Mythology, and I'm like, let's play some Age of Mythology again. That was basically it.
Okay. From then until now, how has your play style changed, if at all? Or maybe you play the same as you did back then?
Hmm.
Because some people, just an example, some people are, the more instinctive players. Some players are very, very, build order oriented, where they're like, I'm the best there is at what I do, so it doesn't matter what my opponent does, because what I'm going to do is so good, and I'm so good at it, I'm going to win regardless. There are people like that, or other people they're in between. There are people that just simply they're really good at, for tournaments. Example, I know some players, another, in big games in esports where they actually don't do very well, or they do okay, on the ladder and whatnot, but then they show up to like a tournament and they are so good at practicing and studying opponents and understanding the meta quickly and able to adjust the things on the fly, that they actually end up either placing or winning tournaments, even though they aren't that great on ladder and whatnot. So what are your thoughts on all that, and where do you think you stand?
I think I'm a player who needs a lot of motivation to, to practice a lot. I find it very tiring to practice RTS. It's very tiring. It's exhausting, not just tiring. So I need a really good motivation in order to make myself practice. In order to, obviously, the best motivation is tournaments, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when there are tournaments, and then the best practice is obviously like hidden practice and custom games. So I think I was never really a tournament. I was never really a ladder guy. Although back in Age of Mythology, I was playing the ladder, right? But it wasn't as serious as it started becoming like after Age of Empires 14 now. Like, yes, it was mostly the glory, but the money that were involved back then, they were not like at this scale. So it
Mm-hmm.
like suddenly when you add like these types of mounts and the community is a lot bigger, the motivation is a lot higher. And because I know that I'm really good at figuring out things,
Mm-hmm.
I don't like just giving it away to people. There's like, why would I do that? There's like a tournament, for example, like in 2 weeks, and I just figured out like 5 matchups. Why would I tell everyone how to play those matchups? And I obviously like after the tournament, I tell everything. Like if you even if in a tournament, if a player asks me, I will probably just tell him because I just can't say no to when people ask me talk to me about strategy. I just love talking about strategy.
I don't want to dive too much into this right now. I want to talk about it in a little bit, but as you're talking about with finding things out and the tournaments and whatnot, I I've casted a lot of games so far in Retold, and then I casted obviously a good portion of the qualifiers. And watching you base crawl in one of the, I think it was like the last game, one of the last games with the monuments was just insane. Because the whole, I mean, it's there. People can do that. It's not even like crazy, but it's the fact that no one did do it, and you're the one who did was just insane to watch.
Like that specific game,
That was
like
so cool.
I really like playing that game because it's like it's one of those games where you can actually use something, for example, and you can use it at like you can make it like really effective. So like in that certain game, like my thought process was I'm gonna start with like the goal of probably I'm gonna go heroic, but
Mm-hmm.
there's a chance I'm gonna make it take a second down center. If he applies pressure, I'll probably not get a second down center. Now, when I sent my Sphinx from the right side of the map while going to his base, I saw his second down center, but it wasn't built. And
Yeah.
I was like, is he playing 1TC? I'm just gonna go fast heroic. There's no way I'm gonna try to take a second down center
Mm-hmm.
because I already delayed it, right? So I might as well go second. I might as well go heroic. And then I hid my Sphinx behind his base just in case he took his third town center. And I started pushing with my priest on the left side with obelisks in case I find something. I told myself if you see a wall, he probably walled because he took his third town center instead of his second.
Mm-hmm.
Now I made the obelisk. I see that he has farms and he has his production there. So I know that his main base has no production. His production is on his third. So I'm like, if there is a lot of open space with choke points between the two bases, then I can probably like go and play my game in between the two bases. And then I cast the ancestral necklace in his base. I did some damage, and then my whole play was I will and while I was doing that, I sent my camels in his main base. I see that he's adding even more production in his main base, and that was exactly the moment when I realized that I can actually cut those two bases in half and then force him to defend both bases. And if he wants to attack, I will basically pushing him and defending at the same time,
Yep.
which is like the ideal thing, right? That's what you want. You always want to defend. But if you're attacking your opponent and while you're attacking him, you're also defending uh, his attacks because he wants to connect those two bases.
Yep.
And one of the reasons that
Where
he
you
wants to
put that stronghold between his main and his expansion was just you cut him off, and it was crazy to watch.
the thing that I like the most is the fact that he has two heroes and they cannot be in both bases.
Yep.
So my plan was to, when his heroes are in his main, I'm pushing with my scorpions in
Hmm.
his second town center. If his heroes are in his second, I'm pushing with my scorpion and my siege on his main. So I was always trying to push with the right units on the side that he didn't have the counters. And I knew that I would probably win that game because he just like it's so hard to defend an ISIS boost, especially when you're like spread into two bases.
Yeah. I mean, the
And he was
monuments denying the heals. I mean,
yeah,
everything about that
exactly.
was so strong.
And the nail in the coffin is the monument basically. He cannot restore and he cannot cast curse. So it's like he does why would he if he aids for example, if he played classical fight and he just made units, he had higher chances of defending. But as soon as I saw the blacksmith, I'm like, okay, I won this game. There's no way he holds this.
Yeah, I mean that was an incredible game. There was also the other game. We're not even gonna. Well, we might talk about that in a minute. But the game where I basically lost my voice with the nuclear wolf. That was something to watch. Let me tell you.
I mean, I was cooking that moment for at least 5 minutes, by the way.
You're just building up to that moment,
Yeah, I was cooking. I wanted him to pressure me on that side really badly,
and
but
he was
even
stuck
if he
between the
kept
trees and the units. It was just, oh my god.
exactly like there were two scenarios in my head when I took the third town center and he was applying pressure, but the only way for me to actually take damage was if he had seeds and catapults.
Mm-hmm.
But I always had like 8 raiders just going back and forth on his reinforcements. I would check, is there a catapult coming? No, go back. I would just go in, is there a catapult coming? No, go back. Then I would just go in again. I see catapult, I snipe it, I go back. So I kept doing that in order to buy time and probably even like make him a bit frustrated because when you lose three catapults, when you know that you're pushing your opponent really hard, but you just don't have the seats because your opponent keeps sniping the catapults, it's very frustrating and very annoying.
Yeah.
And when you get annoyed in games like this, you end up making more mistakes than usual. So my plan was just to make him to keep him in that position basically, so
Oh,
that I
yep.
don't lose the DC and eventually I'll be able to do a great play with my god power.
It was really good. I actually thought that he was gonna get away from it because he was running away and he did have was it chariots and whatnot. I thought they were gonna be fast enough to get away, but no, they did not escape. I thought that was crazy. I guess we could back up for a second because between Age of Mythology and then Age of Mythology Retold, because the game obviously is a little different. It just has the same the same bones and all that. What was your favorite god or gods in the original game, and what are they in the new game, if at all, if they've changed?
Zeus was my favorite god in the original. I mean, I made Zeus and I played a lot of Zeus. I was probably the only person who won tournaments with Zeus. Like Zeus wouldn't even reach like the semis or even the quarterfinals back then. So I created the whole meta for Zeus, in my opinion, back then. Like all the builds, all the play styles, and then obviously Zeus got nerfed to the ground. Like you cannot even imagine how many nerfs Zeus got just because of all of all my builds,
And do
and
you
then
think
it
that that's
became
a problem
unplayable.
in games in general, or just maybe it's a big problem with Age of Mythology where a player, or players are so good and they enjoy playing a specific god, leader, whatever it is, that game so much that it can result in either like an over nerf because it's looked at, it's looked at because of tournament results that this must be too good because this particular god's winning, but in reality, it's not just the god, it's the player behind that god, and maybe they're receiving nerfs when they shouldn't be. What are your thoughts on that?
It it was a problem because we were kind of forced to play, not forced, but we were allowed to play one god all tournament. When this happens, it's not good. It's just this is not balanced. Like, yes, you might, for example, Zeus might be slightly stronger, right? But if you can use him only once, then it's not that big of a deal anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Yes, you're gonna get a win, but if the opponent is well prepared, then he might as win as well. Now, if you're using the same gun again, 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 then yeah, that might be a problem. But when you only play him once, then suddenly balance, yeah, balance is important, but not as important as it used to be back then.
Yeah. So I guess so. You said it was Zeus. Is it still Zeus today? For Retold?
I mean, I like Zeus. I just like Zeus like as an idea. It's not only the it's I guess Zeus is my weakness, so I could say that Zeus is still my favorite god.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not my best, but my favorite.
What's your best? Do you think?
I think Isis is my best god right now. It's
Okay.
and I think it's my best god because I'm probably the only one who actually practiced Isis. Because the moment I saw like all the bonuses that Isis has, I'm like, Isis is the best god. I might as well play Isis, even though I never played Isis in the original, by the way.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Like I almost never played Isis, like or the Egyptians in general. I didn't play any Egyptians in the original or any Atlanteans in the original. I only played Greeks and Norse.
And so, okay, you know, give us all a history lesson here in terms of, I guess, the tournaments back then. Say like a best of seven. Did you have the bands and whatnot like today, or was the
No,
format
no, no,
different?
no, no, no. I have a specific example of a tournament back then.
Mm-hmm.
I was playing in the finals against Magic,
You just Zeus
and
every game, or
the loser had could pick or could pick a map, right?
okay?
And obviously you could pick the same god. And in that certain series, Magic would keep picking the same map because it was Anatolia, and
Mm-hmm.
ISIS was unbeatable in Anatolia. You just couldn't beat ISIS,
Okay.
Egyptians in general. So I in that tournament I lost 5 times on Anatolia, Zeus against ISIS.
Mm-hmm. Well,
So it was like you could repeat maps and you could play the same code in the same map. You could pick the same maps. Like that's I don't know. I don't know what the tournament organizers were thinking back then. But I guess that was the normal
mm-hmm.
back then.
Well, you got to think like back then, StarCraft and all that were big, and then obviously in those games, there's no bans or anything like that. You stick with your best and you play that throughout every tournament. Maybe it was that was a thought process, I guess. As for the tournaments themselves, what was the last tournament you won before Age of Mythology Retold came out?
I honestly don't remember.
Was it a long
It's
time?
probably. I guess we can check it on Wikipedia. I think it was like the Zeus tournament. Everyone was playing Zeus.
Mm-hmm.
But there was also a Loki tournament where everyone were playing Loki, but I don't remember the dates. The last tournament that I won, yes, it was 2016, and it was the Zeus tournament, basically. And I won against Magic in
Okay.
the finals.
So for Age of Mythology Retold, then, I guess obviously things have changed again. So what would you say are your favorite things to do now? Again, you don't have to give any secrets away if you still have any, tricks up your sleeve for the final. But what would you say your favorite strategies to do against other high-level players right now? What do you feel comfortable doing, I guess, and have
Like
fun doing?
apart from the you have to realize that apart from the 19 games that I played in ladder, everything else was custom and everything was against Recon and Rappel.
So
So it's like
your
I've only
entire training
I
regiment was Recon
yes,
and Roppel. That's actually
yes. So
crazy.
basically I was just playing games with Rappel and Recon. I didn't play anyone else. It's like what was my favorite thing doing against them? I guess winning.
Oh
That was
wow.
my favorite thing.
Oh, that's actually kind of crazy that you think because you're going to be playing against Recon in that tournament. Now, are you guys still going to be customing up until then? Are you guys like kind of shying away
I,
from each other? What's that like?
I think we will. I think we will. I haven't thought about it yet because I have some work in my farm at the moment, so
Mm-hmm.
I'm taking a break from playing.
Yeah,
I'm
you got
not
some
gonna
time.
play. Yeah, I know. There's plenty of time actually. Uh, I feel like in a good shape already. Like Not playing for 3 days will not ruin, will not do any harm on me. It might actually be good for me because I played this a lot of games in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, something a lot of people are
So
wondering, I guess, is the whole Mista Magic thing, because you guys had such like a feud, during the original game and whatnot, and we're not going to see you guys in this first tournament. So, are you happy, sad, disappointed that you're not going to be able to play against Magic? What are your thoughts on that?
uh, in regards to these things, I'm a pretty strict person. Like,
Mm-hmm.
in order to get into the finals, you have to beat everyone else, right?
Mm-hmm.
Apart from the other guy on the other side, right?
Yep.
Magic didn't play good on Sunday. He had a bad day, and
Mm-hmm.
it was obvious because Magic doesn't play like this. Like previous day, he was playing so much better.
Mm-hmm.
So he lost. So it's like I don't really feel anything. Like Recon, for example, beat Vortex that beat Magic. So
Exactly. Exactly.
Recon deserved to be in the final. So why would I feel sad when the other person would just won his way in the
Exactly.
finals?
Because Recon absolutely deserves to be in the finals. That's why he's there. He played an amazing, amazing day, just like you did up until the finals. So I'm really excited to see again you guys in that tournament. Hopefully I get to cast it from home. We'll see. I'm really excited to do so. Um, so I guess with that then, what is the number one tip I guess you can give other players out there who are trying to practice for tournaments and whatnot like this? What is something you do or something maybe you should do more of in order to practice for these types of things? Is it like a thing where you just grind out games? Is it a mental thing? What do you think?
Uh, it's the approach, I think. Like when you practice at the end of each game or at the end of each series, you should just take some time to reflect. Maybe even watch the games with your practice partner because it's very, very important to be able to communicate with the person that you're playing. Because when you're practicing with someone, you're trying to improve together. If you're trying to improve only by yourself, then you're doing half the practice. You have to hear his opinion. You have to hear what he has to say, and yeah, you just need to talk with the other guy because you can only feel your side of the map. You can only judge what you did, and at the end of a series, if you both sit down and you give tips to the other guy because you played against him and you felt how he played, and he does the same thing to you, then the next series they're gonna play better, both of you. So you
Actually, makes
should
a lot of
look for
sense.
practice partners. You should look for practice partners.
Now, when you're looking
Yeah.
for a practice partner, are you looking for someone? I mean, obviously in your case it's probably a lot harder, but would you say that you want to look for someone at your skill level, a little below, a little above? What? I know it's hard for you to
Uh,
obviously look for above, but you know what I mean.
you need someone that you can. So it has to do with play styles as well. Right? If you are an aggressive player, for example, most of the times you don't want to find another aggressive player because you will end up having, for example, quick games, and that's not good for both of you. Like because the moment you meet someone who's playing, let's say, more defensive, and you might find a wall, then suddenly the game goes later, and you have no idea what you're doing. So you want to find a practice partner that can play all styles. And that's what I like with Recon and Rapu. They both can play all types of styles. Like they can sit back, they can boom, they can throw in all in, they can play an aggressive game without actually being really aggressive. So they can only apply pressure while they taking down centers behind. They can do tech openings. They can do a lot of things. That's what you want. You want someone who can play all types of styles.
That's the dream. That's the dream. Teammate slash practice partner for sure. Someone that can do everything, and especially the ones that can do the things I guess maybe that you struggle with the most. That you can practice against those things in particular as well.
Yeah, obviously. When you're practicing, you're trying to improve yourself and your opponent.
Mm-hmm.
This is also really important because if you're only improving, you will reach a point where you will just stop because your opponent is not improving. So he cannot provide you the challenge that you need in order
Yep.
to improve yourself even further. So, in order to get the best practice, you need someone who wants to improve with you, and then you improve together.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. Switching gears here a little bit. For Age of Mythology right now, what in particular are you looking forward to in terms of maybe the community meta shift tournaments? And I guess, are there any things that you'd like to see changed or brought in for the game, whether it be even bigger tournaments? We just got that schedule put out today. I don't know if you saw it, showing all those tournaments that came out. I think there's 4 more scheduled and whatnot. And I guess maybe in terms of balance changes.
Um, the only thing that I would like to see is continuously support from the developers. That's what a
Absolutely,
game needs.
absolutely.
If the game has that, because it has the community is already there. It's
Oh, it's
been there for
solid.
so many years. So the only thing that the game needs is developers that care. If they care, the community will appreciate it, and more people will join, and the community will grow and keep on growing.
What do you think the potential is for the game?
I think it has really high potentials. The game is really cool, really fun to watch, really fun to play,
What's your favorite part
and it
about the
has
game? Watching it or
sorry
playing?
playing obviously.
And what part of, like, say when you're watching it, what is your favorite thing to see when you're just watching?
Oh, like for me as a player,
Yeah, just for you in general.
I value smart plays. I value calculated plays. I really like them. I really like when people think before they do things. I like things that make sense. That's what I like.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I like to see.
For, I guess, then the remake. What do you think is like the most impactful change from the original to the remake?
I think the pathing
Pathing,
and that it changed the whole game.
better,
Pathing
worse?
changed it better, much better, much better than the original. It
What
just
was
changed the whole game.
what? So what was? Give me a good example. There are people out here that maybe haven't played the original. What? Give us an example of something really bad that happened because of that pathing, or what made it terrible.
So, for example, like let's say you were playing mass raiding cavalry and you were playing against chariots.
Okay.
Right now, it's if you play mass chariots and I play mass Contarius, mass RC, or mass Hippicons,
Mhm.
I'm gonna destroy you. Back then, that was not the case. It was actually very hard to kill someone who was doing the unit, who was making a unit that you're supposed to counter with your own units. It was not easy. I mean, you would
You just run
probably
into
win
their
in open
stuff.
fight. Yeah, but it didn't felt like if like when you're making let's say you're making Toxotes, right? And I scout it, and I'm like I'm gonna make Hippicons, and you keep making Toxotes, right? I expect to walk over you because you have nothing to stop my
Mm-hmm.
Hippicons from walking over you, right?
Yep.
And when that doesn't happen, you're like, why am I even making the counter unit if it's not going to counter the unit that it's supposed to counter?
Mm-hmm.
Why am I even making it? Yeah, that thing basically
That
that
makes
type
sense.
of
So pathing has been like the biggest thing. Okay.
yeah.
So right now, in the current state of the game, I guess we'll say the Red Bull patch or whatnot. What are the 3 things you'd like to see change now? 3 main things. If you could change, if you could wave a magical wand, right, and change 3 things balance wise, what would you do?
That's a question that I don't have an answer because I haven't really thought about it. It's like I have the competitors mentality right now,
Mm-hmm.
so it's like if you
You
ask
say
me
something's really
what
strong. That's what you.
yes
Yeah, I see what you're saying
yeah
now.
usually for example what happens is if I feel that something is really strong, I've tried to think of a way to use it, but at the same time I'll message the developer and tell him
Okay.
this thing is broken.
Okay, how about this? We'll
But
do a reverse on that question because again, I see where you're going with that. You don't want to talk about things because that could affect your strategy and whatnot right now. I get that. How about 3 things that you would like to see buffed or fixed? How's that? Because that won't affect you, I don't think.
let me think.
Like 3 things that you might consider to be useless or not good, right?
That's the thing, though. I don't think there's anything useless.
Some people really think the the forest firepower is not good. What are your thoughts of people that say that?
You don't have to use it early. It becomes stronger in heroic, and
Yep.
it has some really good combos. You can save it, Like you can save, for
Mm-hmm.
example, you can save the upgrade and combine it with flaming weapons while your opponent is retreating.
Okay.
You can do a combo in heroic with forest fire and walking trees as Odin. Like you can do just by opening with a forest fire at the start of the game, you can set your opponent behind. You might even snipe a villager
Mm-hmm.
if he's not careful. But recently, I started to use forest fire in later stages of the game,
Mm-hmm.
and when my opponent retreats, I in practice I've won games where I used forest fire in heroic, and I won it in a single fight just because of the forest fire. Because my opponent could not, hug the forest in order to escape or take a good engagement. So he had to come towards my army in order to basically get space from the forest fire, and that lost him the army and the game. So there's opportunities for you to use, but you just need to like be aware of it and you need to look for it, right? So like always move next to forests, find a place where your opponent might think that is high value,
Mm-hmm.
and play around it.
Okay, that's really really good advice for that. Because a lot of people, they've had things to say about that, but the way you make it sound, it's really good if you use correctly.
This,
But then again, it's everything.
I'm gonna tell you, the thing is, like most of the people who complain about forest fire, it's people who want to cast forest fire at the start of the game and get one or two villagers.
Gotcha.
No, a god power at 4 minutes should not win you the game.
Mm-hmm.
It's simple. Like it should not
Absolutely.
win you a game. It's 4 minutes. You shouldn't expect to win a game by doing one click.
I completely agree. I like that it does what it's supposed to. And obviously, if a player is being lazy or whatnot, it can definitely catch them. But the way you're
Yeah,
making it sound,
but
saving it for later is definitely doable.
yes, because it scales depending on what age you are. So if you keep it for mythic, it's gonna be even stronger.
Absolutely. Okay, so I guess we'll start winding down a little
J-
bit here. But
Just just
okay,
a wild thought.
go
You
ahead.
can use the wolf and forest fire at the same time. Imagine if I went Freya in that game against Kimo, and then I did the wolf in a way where most of the
Oh,
units
pushed
will
him
be
into
pushed on top
the
of trees.
woods.
Yes.
Oh man, that'd have been crazy. Out of the frying pan and into the fryer, literally. So for everybody out there, again, a lot of people here are kind of new. I mean, a lot of people didn't even play the original game, or they played a little bit. They've come back from nostalgia purposes, so we don't have like a huge history on the game and whatnot. So what would you say is like one or two of for you, not just for the game, but for you, most memorable moments in the game's history, for your
For
career
me.
or just you in general?
All right. So
That's a
one of
loaded
the
question,
first.
but
So I watched a recorded game back in 2008.
mm-hmm.
I think it was either ISIS or Ra against Odin, and it was Oasis. And so the game, I don't remember exactly what happened in the game, but I remember how it ended.
Mm-hmm.
So the Odin rugs, the ISIS player went Hathor back then. Now it's Sobek. He just had like uh, I think a pharaoh with like 10 villagers left survived, and a second rock with two catapults. So he was able to kill the town centers of his opponent. So the Odin only had 180 pop worth of frag, but no resources to rebuild, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the Ra player, and the ISIS or Ra player, I don't remember what it was, he went in the oasis in the middle, and he started eating the trees. Eventually made the market, kept selling, and with those 10 villagers, he made a wonder in the oasis. And the Odin player could never kill it because he could never rebuild.
Just couldn't get it.
Yes, he just couldn't get it, even though he was so far ahead. I don't remember. It was like it was a boring game. They were probably doing 30 minutes of nothing.
But that does make a pretty interesting moment. I mean, the fact that you remember it now from that long ago has been like 16 years or something. Wow, that's
And
pretty incredible.
and the most memorable game that I played was in Savannah, Zeus against Isis against ATB Action.
Okay.
It was a 2-hour game, and we made titans, blah blah blah, and then at the end we had like this rule that we didn't really make wonders. But my opponent messaged me in the game and he said, "Should we also make wonders?" But he was all ready to make the wonder. He already had all the villagers ready with the farm, and I said yes, and he instantly started the wonder, and
Immediately
he
did
finished it. He finished it so fast, man. So I made my own wonder,
it.
and I back then it was in 2008. So I thought to myself, how do I win this? I have to kill the wonder. But how am I supposed to kill the wonder? Like the map was literally cut in half
Yep.
and it was full of buildings. How do I win this game? I put all of my villagers on favor and I started making only colossus inside my temples. And as soon as I was like max pop, I started deleting villagers until I had like max pop colossus. And I waited, and 3 minutes before the game finished, I just took out an army of only Colossus, Max Pop only Colossus, and I was able to kill the Wonder, and
Oh
then I
my
won.
god. Just bulldozed your way through.
Yeah, basically yes.
And you got it. What was the time left on the do you remember how
I
close
think
it was?
I think like 30 seconds or something because he just instantly
I
resigned
bet your
because
heart
there
was
was no way.
pumping during that march to it.
Yeah, I
That's
think it
awesome.
was. I remember exactly. I remember the day because I went to a pastry to get some sweets because my mother told me to buy some kind of things, and I was like, I'm just gonna go and play. I thought to myself, I got the sweets from the pastry, and then I went to the internet cafe, and I'm like, I'll just play one game. And it ended up being a 2 hour game, and I ate
Just
everything
one
from inside
game.
that box. I ate everything from inside that box. So I went home without anything, and I was like,
That's actually insane. Oh man. Well, I had a question that I'd like to do for these interviews, but for you, it's going to be even more interesting. How do you balance this game and your real life with your job and everything? How do you do that? And how
um,
because you're a top player in the game. Like how, and you're obviously super busy as well. So I mean that's an incredible feat by itself.
so as I said, I'm very strict with like what I do. So it's as soon as September comes, like mid toward the end of August, I start to have a lot of free time, and then I look for what kind of RTS I want to play, and if there's like competitions there.
Mhm.
If there are, then I'm like, I'm just gonna play until let's say March, and as soon as March comes, I just stop playing. Like March, around March, I just stop playing, and then I'm like, I'm gonna come back next September.
Gotcha. That's I mean, that's a great strategy, but the thing is, I don't think you don't realize the average gamer can't do that, man. Like they need more time to get rid of the game. The fact that you're able to accelerate in short periods of time and short bursts like that is incredible. Like it really
I
is.
I have been doing that since 2008 or 9. That's what I do
Yeah,
every year.
it's really incredible that you can do that. And the fact that you can just catch up on whatever the meta is or change it to mold the meta to your liking is just it's insane.
Well, I think I'm accustomed to it because I've been doing it. It wasn't easy at first, right?
Hmm.
It was hard, but it's like muscle memory. I think it's just like if you keep doing it like for many years and you're persistent, right? Because in those first years, I could probably like because I didn't have the success of coming back as I have now. Right? I wasn't good when I was coming back, or I wasn't as good at this so fast. I could just quit and I'd be like, this is life. I can't do this. It's gonna be hard, and it is
Hmm.
hard. Sometimes it is hard, but I didn't. I'm like, I'm just gonna practice. Basically, what happens is I just come back and I start practicing. That's the important thing. It's like as soon as I have time, I'm actually investing that time in order to improve.
Yeah, that's honestly crazy because like you said, the time, like again, for most people, it takes a lot more time. And like I know you say you've been doing it, that's how you've been always doing it, but that in itself is a talent to it's like an accelerated feat to be able to do that. so quickly.
It's the experience.
Yeah.
It's nothing supernatural or like extra. It's I think most people
I think
can
it
do
kind
it
of is a little
if
supernatural. You're playing it down, but it really is.
I don't know.
If people could get that good at a game that quickly, or come back to a game and get good that quickly, people would do it. You don't see that in other, esports, things like that. It's very, very rare to see that.
I think it's, for example, I don't think I could be doing this in Age of Empires 2 or in StarCraft 2 because those games are more mechanical and you have to
Hmm.
play a lot of games. It's just like repeat, repeat. But like in Age of Empires 4 and Age of Mythology, games that are like more into like the thinking, there's like more thinking. There's playing obviously, right? But there's also a lot of thinking. I think maybe that's why what I'm doing, I have success doing it. It's because it's games that I can skip the mechanics part
Hmm.
and like you just don't forget the game, right? Like it's the
Absolutely.
mechanics. Yeah, your hands get slower, but the experience remains. Like your brain remembers. He just needs a little push
Hmm.
and good mentality. Good mentality is very important because when you get back, you're gonna lose a lot,
Yeah.
even if you're good.
Okay.
The important thing is to not stop. It doesn't matter if you lose. Your
Just keep
goal
going.
is not to win the first games, especially if there's a tournament. It doesn't matter if I lose 100 games in practice. As long as I improve, I'm fine with it.
Hmm. Well, talking about the way you get good at games, how you do it quickly and whatnot, and how you're able to adjust like that, I want to springboard that into one of my next questions here about the tournament itself, and actually about right before the tournament. And a lot, is like big controversy and whatnot, especially with the players. Obviously, the patch that hit right before, right? What are your thoughts on that? And did it affect you positively, do you think, or negatively in your performance in the tournament? We know you won every game, but do you think you would have played better on the previous patch, or do you think other people would have played better, worse? Like, where do you think you would have stood if that patch had not hit? And did it affect you more or less than you think the other pro players?
Uh, I
That's a big
think
question, by the way. A lot of people want it. This is like a big
I
one.
now the thing though is like you're practicing for something 2 weeks straight, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're really practicing, and then this happens. Obviously, I didn't like it because there were things that are important, like important changes. But let's say I had a conversation with myself and I'm like, does it even matter? I mean, you practice these things, you practice this type of play style, you're gonna do this. You can't change your play style like in one night. You can't change your practice in one night. And most importantly, people cannot abuse all those things in one night, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, I had enough practice. I don't really mind. What happens. I'll just gonna go and play the game that I'm supposed to play.
That's some crazy goat mentality right there. They patched the game before the tournament. Who cares?
And and the part and the parts didn't really affect me because I didn't really play the gods or I didn't really use the things because
Yeah.
I didn't really use the things that they buffed or nerfed.
Did you struggle more or less, or I guess, did you struggle any more against any of the things that were buffed that if any that somebody else might have used against you in the tournament? Say like the Atlanteans and whatnot, because they received some pretty significant buffs. Did you struggle any more against those, or did the things you practiced to beat the Atlanteans with already work anyway?
I think the Atlanteans felt stronger than what they felt in practice. Basically, that was the only difference. It's like I didn't expect some kind of I didn't expect the like it's certain points in the game I felt more pressure than I should have, if you know what I mean. It's
Mm-hmm.
like I know that, for example, if you come with like 10 units and I see those 10 units, in my mind they can do up to this type of damage, right?
Yep.
And like I instantly take like precautions and I'm like, I'm gonna defend with this amount of units because from experience and from all the things that I have in my head, this is enough. But suddenly those 10 units, for example, push and he actually breaks me, even though I didn't do anything wrong, right? It's points like this happened in some of the games that I played against Uranus, and I knew that it was because of the balance
Mhm.
changes. That's how it felt.
The patch itself, do you think it was, I mean, again, besides the timing of it, the patch itself, do you think it was mostly good things, bad things? Do you don't doesn't matter to you either way?
Uh, I, the thing, this is what happened. I saw the patch notes, I read them. As soon as I had the conversation with myself that I will not try to change my whole like thinking because of this, I just instantly disregarded them, and I just paid attention to some certain things. I should be more cautious. So I don't really remember how many things were changed, and I only remember that I took a note to myself that I should be more cautious against Uranus.
Gotcha.
I think that was the only thing that I just told to myself when I read the patch notes, but I don't really remember the patch notes.
Well,
I considered them irrelevant at the point, and I just disregarded them.
yeah, I think among the top players, I'll tell you, from what the things I've read, things I've heard, you have the actual chillest response to that patch, and the timing, and then the notes themselves, and I think that's kind of interesting, and maybe other people might need to follow your lead on those thoughts and how how to deal with patches and stuff like that.
The thing though is when something like this happens, even if you complain, nothing will change.
Yep,
You're just ruining your mentality. When you go into a tournament, mentality is very important.
absolutely. And that's in anything, whether it be a sport, tournament, esport, doesn't matter. I think that mentality plays a huge part in show matches and especially tournaments. I think it's a really, really, really big aspect of things.
Like something that I was thinking is like I practice really hard for this. I feel super confident. I won't lose to someone who is using something that got buffed in it overnight.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, he hasn't practiced it. I practiced. He hasn't practiced this new thing. He's probably gonna try it like maybe 1 or 2 games before the tournament.
Mm-hmm.
It might feel good. He might overextend himself, thinking it's too good, but I should be fine.
Yeah, that's I mean that's a great mentality. It really is. No matter what happens, no matter what they change, you're gonna show up and do what you practice to do anyway, and it's gonna work because that's what you worked for.
Yeah, basically, if it doesn't work, then it's like I won't do magic overnight, right? It's like if you don't
Exactly.
practice, don't expect results.
Well, so on top of that, I guess with the tournament and all that, what besides obviously winning, I mean, I'd assume trying to win this next match of yours against Recon. What are your other goals, future goals for Age of Mythology Retold? On top of that,
I have, I can play until March. So whatever comes, I'll
whatever
play.
comes until March.
Yes, exactly. Everything is on the table until March. After that, see you in September.
So from now until March, basically your goals are to try and win every single event that you can get your hands on.
I'll practice. I like the game.
Mm-hmm.
And I still enjoy the game, even though I played a lot. Like for example, when I played a lot for Genesis,
Mm-hmm.
for Age of Empires 4, I didn't want to play the game for quite some time after that. But with Age of Mythology, I want to play. I like the game, even though I played a lot, and I've never played so much as as much as I played in the last 2 weeks. I have never played so much in my life. Practice, right? Not just play games, just actual practice. I've never done that before, and I think it's because I really like the game.
Okay.
Like for me, playing 10 to 10 to 15 games per day is an insane amount of games. It's a lot of games, and I was able to do it for
Just
2 weeks
banged them
straight.
out one after another.
Yeah, I don't do that.
You
I
Recon
cannot
and
play so
Raffle.
many games. Yeah, I can't play so many games. I could never play so many games in Age of Empires 4 or
Mm-hmm.
any of the other RPGs that I played. I always play like 5 to 6 games per day, maybe, and
Wow,
that was practice.
that's actually crazy. And again, you say you think that's normal, and I promise you that it is not. That you can do that. Um, for the tournament, but put yourself aside for a second. What was like I guess the players or results between players that maybe shocked you the most?
Ooh.
Whether someone played
Obviously,
bad, someone played good, like, or someone beat
there's
somebody. What do you think?
there's two things that come to my mind. One was like I didn't expect Matrius to lose, and I didn't expect Vortex to. Magic to lose.
Mm.
For me, those two were upsets because I know both of those players, and I think maybe they just had a bad day. I don't know. Uh, I consider Matrius a very skilled player and a very
Hmm.
intelligent player.
I watched a lot of his games. He's fantastic.
The same thing with Magic. Now,
Yep,
obviously, I don't
absolutely.
want to take anything away from Grass. Grass is also a really strong player,
Hmm.
but Matrius, in theory, in my head, Matrius is a stronger player because I've seen both play, both Matrius and Grass, and it's just logical for me that Matrius would most likely win. Same thing with Magic against Vortex. Like Vortex is an insane player, like literally an insane player. But when it comes to Age of Mythology, I know Magic. I know how he plays. So it's obvious to me that I would expect Magic to win.
So I guess let's talk about you. So it was Mista and Grass, right? Do you think that was a mental thing? Was this a difference in play styles? What do you think made that result happen that way? What because you as you said you think that Grass is a great player, but in your opinion you think that Matreus is a little better. So what led to those results? Do you think
A bad day.
just a bad just
Everyone
chalk?
can have.
Yeah,
I
bad just a
think
bad day.
you people should not underestimate bad day. A
Mm-hmm.
bad day is like the worst thing that can happen to a gamer.
Yep.
Like in a bad day, you can lose against everyone,
Yeah.
almost everyone.
I think the other thing that's not talked about, I don't think you mentioned it. I mean, and it's the opposite of that. I think some people can just have really good days, and it has nothing to do with your opponent having a bad day. But like, and I'm sure you're a top player, so you've had this. I guarantee it. You just enter that like flow state, man. Like you're just locked in, you're zoned in, and you're just playing on top of your game.
You, this is where practice comes. So in my head, the more you practice, the lower is the risk of you having a bad day, and
Mm-hmm.
higher the risk to have a good day,
Mm-hmm.
right? You can always have a bad day. It doesn't matter if you practice 24/7. There's always that chance. But the more you practice, the lower the chance is, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's my opinion on that. Now,
Gotcha.
so for me, it all comes down to practice. There's always exceptions, but like the rule, in my opinion, is always if you practice enough, you probably will not have a bad day.
Gotcha. Besides tournaments, do you think that you see yourself playing any show matches? Obviously, after the Red Bull Wolo, between other
Mm,
top players, maybe best of fives, best of sevens, whatever, at some point.
it depends the rules.
Absolutely. What kind of rules would you be looking for,
It
or
depends
not
on
looking
us.
at, looking against?
I don't like, for example, playing monogod so much. I don't really like it.
What do you mean?
Uh, for example, like let's play 5 games Zeus against Isis. Uh,
Okay, what if it was like a tournament format though? Say there's like a best of seven, and you could each like pick gods that you each get to use, kind of like how this tournament goes, with bans or without. Doesn't really matter. But what are your thoughts on that? You like
I
that
don't know.
more? Like that less?
I I liked the tournament rules from Age of Empires 4 so much that I can't see myself going back into playing the same god or the same civ again and again and again and again.
Yeah. So you pick one god, he picks one. You pick one, he picks one. That kind of thing.
Yeah, basically yes. In my
Absolutely.
opinion, that's the best thing
Now, are you now? What's that
for
same
the viewers as
format?
well, right?
Yeah, exactly. Of course, the viewers. I mean, they love watching different things. Of course. Let's just say that format, but there was no bans. What are your thoughts on that?
I'm fine with that.
You know what I mean? So it's the same format, but there just wouldn't be any bans. So you'd each
Yeah,
get the
yeah,
opportunity to play as your best gods
yeah. I'm
at least
fine with that.
once.
I'm fine with that.
Okay, that's cool. Good to know. Good to know. I'll put that in my little notebook. uh, four, I guess. I mean, by the way, we're almost an hour over here. We're supposed to only go for 30 minutes. I don't know what happened there, but let's go. Magic versus Mista. Who knows? Maybe. Um, I guess for the tournament, then. I mean, that was kind of the most information. Is there anything else you want to talk about that tournament, or anything that what you want to say about it?
I'm really excited. Like I really wanted to go to Spain.
And now you get to
You
go.
know that. Yeah, you know that I've been in the last Wallalo, right? And I lost in the finals.
Oh,
So this is the second final for me for Wallalo, and I really wanna win this
now
one.
is that final a best of
I
7 or best of 9? What is that?
best of five.
What?
Yes, it's a best of five.
Okay, what?
That's what I saw at least in the Wikipedia or in the program that they posted.
You might have to get like a petition going or something. I don't I don't know, man. That's kind of weird. Now is that I wonder if that's the same for like age 2
Yeah,
and age 4.
it's the same for age four, but it's best of nine for age two. It's a best of five for age one, age four, and age and on.
I'm not a fan of that, to be honest with you. I did
I
not
don't
know that
know.
until this very moment. I thought it was going to be a 7 or a 9.
Maybe me and Rickon will have the longest games of our lives. Who knows?
You guys going to shake hands before the games? You know, no attacking for 10 minutes for each game? Is that guaranteed wonder game in there somewhere? Yeah, I actually I did not know that. I'm about to go look at that in a little bit here. I was unaware. That's kind of crazy. Thank you for pointing that out. I don't think a lot of people knew that, to be honest.
I was expecting a minimum best of seven.
Yeah, of course. And it's not like the series go on for a long, long time most of the time anyway. Between the top players, it's very rare from what I've seen. I mean, there's a few bangers in there that go a long time, but for the most
Yeah,
part, they really
there's
don't.
always a chance for a long
Of
game.
course, of course, and especially with the maps and whatnot. And generation, get a very defendable map. You get two, defensive gods and whatnot. It could happen for sure. Well, I guess the last couple of questions here. What tips do you have for maintaining, being a high caliber player in any game? I guess you can use your tips from becoming, Agent of Age 4, Age of Mythology. What are your thoughts? What would you tell other people? Like, how do you stay with that longevity for such a long period of time?
It's yeah, I've said it before. It's all about practice,
Just
proper
practice.
practice, right? It's
The Mista practice,
you
man. I
notice
got it.
you notice. I'm not telling you to go ladder. I'm not telling you go play ladder, play ranked all day. I'm telling you to practice. Now, when you practice, it's different. It's like, for example, if you tell me how to become a boxer, for example, right? I will not tell you go to the gym. I will tell you go practice boxing.
Mm-hmm.
It's You have to actually go and practice and be aware of what you're doing, and eventually the things that you're aware will start to just happen. Like, they will just happen without you being aware that they're happening. So your micro will improve without actually you trying to improve your micro. Your eco management will improve without actually you worrying about your villagers.
Mm-hmm.
Things like that, they will just, like, after a lot of practice, suddenly one day you will realize that, oh, oh, I'm actually a lot better than what I was. So you just need to play and practice.
That's pretty good information. But so basically, your thing is practice, and ladder doesn't mean that. That's not what you mean. Just ladder. You mean practice in every
Yes,
aspect of the game.
yes. Like ladder, you can practice in ladder, but just by playing ladder, it doesn't mean that you're practicing.
Yeah.
Like, you can play 20 games per day, and you can play 5 games per day, and those 5 games can be more informative than your 20 games, and they might help you improve even more than 20.
All right. So I guess two things here. How what would you say have been your biggest setbacks in your professional RTS career?
Being a farmer.
Being a farmer is your biggest setback? I think I had somebody ask about if you had a Lamborghini tractor yet. I don't know, but
No, I have a New Holland tractor.
okay. So your biggest setback, your biggest professional setback is being a farmer. Are there any
I mean,
advantages to being a farmer?
well, I mean, I get to think about the game a lot, but does it really matter if you can't really play or compete? Like, yeah, for example, let me give you an example. Let's say it's April now, May, and I'm working in the farm, and in my tractor, I have a stream open. And while I'm like doing whatever I'm doing, I'm watching a game with my right eye, and I see that Matri was just lost to a weird Olin, right?
Mm-hmm.
For the next 30 minutes, I'm replaying that game in my head, and I'm trying to figure out a way to stop that all-in. Does it that? And if for some miracle it rains, and I'm like, I'm gonna play a game, and someone does that all-in to me, I've already figured it out. I can beat it.
Gotcha. All right, before I ask you my last question, people in chat, I'm going to be giving you guys an opportunity here. I'm going to get you guys some of your questions, and I'm going to be asking them to Mista. So for the next minute, just ask some questions in chat, and we'll grab some of those. But I guess while we're waiting for those to come in, I guess I'll ask you my last question, and it's more of a deep question. So, how do you even ask this? What legacy are you trying to, or would you like to leave behind? And in 5-10 years, whatever it may be, if this game is still alive, or maybe the Age of Mythology 2 comes out, what have you, what do you want people to think of when they think of the name TheMista, or when they think of Age of Mythology and TheMista is brought up? What are your thoughts there? What do you want to leave behind?
I want to be considered one of the goats. I guess.
Be truthful.
Be
truthful. Do you want to be considered the
like,
goat or one of the goats?
There cannot be only one goat, my friend. You can't have one goat, because I think this game has been alive for like more than 20 years,
Yep.
right? And there's a high chance that it's going to be alive for more than maybe another decade, maybe even more, right?
Hopefully.
So there's gonna be a lot of goats, my friend. I just want to be one of them.
There's going to be a lot of greats, but I just want to be one of them. That's your quote?
Yes. I, for example, want to be like, to show my kid this game, and to tell him I used to beat everyone in this game.
Mm-hmm. That's
now
awesome.
Go get them. Be like daddy.
Oh man, I didn't expect that. That's a really cool, man. I'm gonna quote you on that. So there's a lot of greats, and I just want to be one of them. That's the Mista quote. That's what we're getting out of that. You think we'll use that? Put that in quotations. Put that in the thumbnail. Okay, so I'm gonna grab some of these. There's a lot of goats. The Mista just wants to be part of the pantheon. How about that? So here's a question. Do you think that the Age of Mythology Legacy Zeus needed the nerfs it received, or do you think it was over nerfed? And I think you answered that already earlier, but I guess you can answer their question for him.
Yeah, he was over nerfed by a lot. He didn't deserve the nerfs. I mean, when you have a god that everyone just like basically stopped playing competitively for more than a decade because you think that it cannot compete against Egyptians, and suddenly it can and it's winning tournaments, you just don't go and butcher it. But because that's what they did.
Mm-hmm.
Not only once, they did it like 2 or 3 times in a row. Like in 2 years, Zeus was just nothing, and it just felt playing like a generic Greek without anything extra.
So I guess the next question here is, someone wants to know where you're from. You already answered that, but go ahead. Let people know.
I'm from Greece.
All right, guys, so he is from Greece. And now I have the other question here. I don't know about this. Maybe I guess you're going to maybe give me some enlightenment here. Please comment on your rivalry with DOD Magyar.
I didn't have a rivalry.
I don't know what that is, but
he's one of the goats.
No, I know who it is. I meant like the rivalry part.
We practiced with Magyar. We did practice with Magyar.
Mm-hmm.
And in 2010, I wasn't playing the game. Me and Magyar played a bit in 2009, and then we played a lot in 2013. Now, in 2009, I was not good in 2009. For like my standards, I was not good.
Mm-hmm.
I was like 3 times better in 2013, and I feel at least 2 times better now than what I was in 2013. Way more experience now.
Gotcha.
I'm way more confident with my skills.
All right. Well, I guess we'll go on to this last question. It's a 2-parter. how did you get started farming, and I guess what type of crops do you grow in your farm?
I started farming because I come from a family of farmers. I decided to become a farmer when my father got sick. I was 15, took over the farm with my grandfather, and since then I am a farmer.
Nice.
And yes, I own approximately 80% of the land that I work. The other
Wow,
20% I rent.
that's a lot. Oh, I was gonna do the last question, but we'll do one more because it's from Atreus. What are your goals for the JSS clan? I need to get a little giggle from that.
To beat all the rest of you.
To beat all the rest of you. Okay, that's good. That's really funny, actually. That's the goal. And what does JSS stand for?
Justice strikes.
Justice strikes. There you go, guys. Is there anything else you want to say, or anything else like that before we end here? We've already gone so far over what I thought we were gonna do. I don't know, but I'm surprised.
Else, else Silpho, I played StarCraft 2 and I prefer Age of Empires by Age of Games by a milestone. There was an unanswered question.
Yeah, I was trying to
That was
cherry pick
basically
through
it.
them, but yeah, there's more coming in. He wants you play a team game. That will be fun.
If I get to beat you, Matrius, I'll play a team game.
Yeah, but today is if he plays against you and he gets to win, of course he said he'll play. How's that? There you go. All right, guys. Well, I guess that'll be it here for the interview with the legendary TheMista. We got some pretty good stuff out of this here. A lot of great information that I'm sure most of us didn't know, and I'm really happy that we actually got to have this happen. I mean, and it's really cool that the timing and whatnot for it, because it just happened with the tournament there. You're going to be going to the castle. Hopefully, we'll do another interview, maybe a post one after the tournament. Whether win or lose, doesn't matter. We'll do another one then. And again, I just want to thank you for being here. Obviously, you don't have to do any of this stuff. The fact that you did and you're here answering questions is amazing, and it was a great talk. I really appreciate it, man.
Thank you for having me on. It was really fun.
Now I have a
And
question.
you, Mhm.
Before you go, who would you like to see next on in an interview?
Oh my God, man! Just look at your message that I sent you.
That's so funny. That's so funny. You typed it right as it. And the thing is, I have already asked him. So I'm waiting for like a full response for that. There, yeah. I've already asked him. He's in chat right now too. I've already asked him. Hopefully we'll get that done. Because again, I just can't believe it. So I mean, we'll just kind of say it. We thought this interview, we kind of agreed upon this one being a lot shorter. Do you think the time went by a little faster than you thought? 'Cause it's been an hour and a half, man.
It was fun. It was fun. And when you're having fun, time flies.
Yeah, and that's awesome. I mean, obviously we're doing something right here, and I hope everybody in the chat, enjoyed this. And if you're watching in the future on YouTube, let me know what you guys thought and what we could change, do better next time. We've gotten two of the best players of all time. We got the Magic, we've gotten the Mista so far, and hopefully we'll do many more in the future. I really enjoy doing these. I love talking with these amazing players and individuals in general. And yeah, I guess that's it. Unless you have anything else to say.
My favorite god is also Hira there. Thank you for having me, Yodasa.
Hey, thanks for being here, man. I appreciate it.
It was fun.
All right, guys, I'm going to end this stream real quick. But again, thank you so much for being here. And I'll see you guys next time. Signing off.